Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Jacob Wycoff, joined by my colleagues Alyssa Andrews and Terry Eliasen. We want to recap the incredibly rare day yesterday, but also look to the future, kind of where we stand weather-wise, but also climate-wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a busy weather time. We needed 3 of us to actually break the whole thing down.
Yes, exactly.
We've got, I mean, I can't, first off, yesterday was, in my mind, one of the most memorable days since I've been here at BZ.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's sadly or interestingly a long time.
He has scrolls in the back. That's how long that he's
That's
been
a
at BZ.
statement, though, coming from you, because you've seen it all, extreme weathers on all ends.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't remember a day where on the temperature map at 5 p.m., Eric goes on last night at 5, and there are so many hundreds on the map. And so many places inland that later check, 105, 106 degrees. That's just a wild day.
And I think it wasn't just the expanseness of how high the temperatures were so high, but also the longevity of them, right? It hovered above 100. It wasn't just like a blip. It was multiple hours in the triple digits. So it was a very extreme day.
Yeah, and a day that really the ACs couldn't keep up with. I know you had a...
Mine was out right away. I mean, so I moved into an apartment without AC, which was a big talker over the weekend because that's the time you have to prepare, even before that, preparing for the hot weather, which is why it's so important to get the AC and make sure things are working. Mine went out. I'll tell you what, I took my dog and we went out to a restaurant and hung out for a while in cool air because we had to. I mean, we literally, it was like, this is the time to do it when the weather is 100 degrees outside.
Yep.
I was actually shocked by the amount of people that were out and about. I was kind of shocked by that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the air was just
stifling.
It was so gross.
Yeah.
I was at the Frog Pond. If you saw the noon broadcast yesterday, hundreds of families there. It was really great to see people enjoying the water, just being in a community. But it was really, it was not only gross, but it was dangerously hot.
Yeah.
We talk about heat all the time. And sometimes you at home may say, like, yeah, we've had hot temperatures.
Right.
We've never had a hot day like we had yesterday in the month of June. It was literally the hottest June day in 150 years in Boston.
Yeah, just remarkable. And I know, like last night, we're lucky enough to have air conditioning, but it just couldn't keep up. It was all day and all night. We don't have heat like this in New England typically, so we don't have infrastructure that's built to really wiststand something like that. So
absolutely. So you see 102 in Boston, 95 in Worcester, 100 degrees in Providence, 100 in Hartford, at Bradley Airport. All of them setting new temperature records. Providence and also Boston setting new monthly high June temperature records. Just incredible stuff.
If we could take that graphic full for 1 second, I need to reset our graphics. But
so the incredible thing too is Providence, Hyannis, hitting in the mid to upper 90s. It's very hard with the ocean influence as you go into the mid and outer Cape to get into the 90s. I believe this is only the 3rd time that Nantucket was as warm as it was yesterday. Provincetown at 97. That is just incredible.
On the Cape to be that
and just
hot.
think, like a westerly wind for Providence still goes over Cape Cod Bay. So we hit 102 yesterday, beating the old record by 7 degrees, shattering it. Also setting the warmest monthly June day record. Previously stood at 100. We obviously hit 102.
And that's no small feat, a record of 95 that we broke by 7 degrees.
Yeah.
7 degrees.
It's crazy.
And not to toot our own horn, but as early as like a week in advance.
Yeah.
I know you guys, but Eric as well. Eric was talking 100, 102 degrees, later last week, and those are, it's hard to forecast something that's that unusual.
Yeah.
It is. It's a bizarre feeling to put 100 on a 7-day forecast. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Anywhere, especially up here in New England.
And we did manage to get the day 4 today. We did sneak in 93 degrees this morning, and temperatures are already falling back now, thankfully, due to a sea breeze along the coast.
Absolutely. The interesting thing to your point about how hard it is to forecast 100 degrees a week ahead of time, our models that far out, they tend to skew things towards climatology. And right now, our average highs are in the mid to upper 70s, depending on where you are. So for it to be that extreme, 25 degrees above the average high temperature, the models want to bring it back to normal. And so, yes, to toot our own horn, we saw the writing on the wall that this was a setup that we could get the triple digits. Only happened 28 times, including yesterday in the past for triple digits. So when it comes to the hottest June days on record, beating the old record by 2 degrees. Again, that's hard to. We have such an expansive data set for Boston.
And it's hard to get 100 degrees. So obviously you can see we've only hit 100 or higher in June 4 times in Boston's recorded history, which is about 150 years. June, because our ocean is still, the oceans take longer to warm up than the land does. So our oceans are still relatively chilly in the 60s for the most part, although after the last few days, I think we have a few 70s popping up. But it's just hard to do in June to get that type of heat. You really need the perfect wind direction. Most of our warmest days on record, which I think is the next graphic, are in July. And you'll see that warmest all-time 104 degree was July 4th, 1911. So remarkable for a number of reasons, really. The fact that it happened in June, the fact that we smashed not only the daily record, but the all-time June record. And here, so if you look at it this way, the 102 degrees yesterday, there's only been 3 days in the history of Boston weather keeping that have been hotter than yesterday.
Wow.
Any month, any day of the year.
Speaks to how extreme it was.
Really.
One other thing that we should mention is a lot of times when we have those type of setups, we get a big thunderstorm complex that comes and breaks it. That's what we had in 2021, the last time that we had the 100-degree temperature in the month of June. We had tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. We really don't get that. And we'll talk about that in a second. But a lot of people are asking us in the newsroom, when we're out on the street, is this our new normal? And the truth is, over the last 50 or so years, we are seeing more hot summer days, more days above normal for Boston, 10 plus days that we're seeing more hot summer days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that, everyone kind of knows that our climate has been warming, and that's true of all seasons, all 4 seasons. And it's not only true during the daytime highs, it's true with the summer nights as well. In fact, I think that the interesting thing is that there's a lot more water vapor in the air now than, say, 50 years ago. So that tends to make the nights warmer, tends to make the dew points higher, a little bit more moisture in the air. So our summer nights are warming even faster than some of the actual daytime highs in the summer.
Absolutely.
So you kind of get it at both ends.
And the interesting thing, I did a story a few years ago about the heat-related stresses, and there was a paper that came out that climate change is causing higher suicide rates because the scientists hypothesized that we're not getting the same sort of rest we need at night because people are so restless.
Interesting.
And so it's not maybe the climate anxiety of the doom and gloom of things, but it's actually we're just not sleeping as well in the summertime because of these warm summer nights. And he was able to find a correlation to that. So when we talk about 90-degree days, there is some increase in 90-degree days, and if we were to kind of extrapolate, since it is 2025, you add 5 more years to the last bar there on the right. Let's double it and say 168 or so. So you do see a rise in those 90-degree days.
I mean, if you look back to this, so this graph starts way back in the 1920s and 30s, and you can kind of see, on average, in the 130 or so, these are 90 degrees per decade, how many 90-degree days Boston's had. We had that dip in the 60s, but mostly between, say, 110, 120, 130, and then all of a sudden, the last 20 years, so you get 162 in the 2010s, and then obviously in the 2020s, we're aiming for another 160. So there is a little bit of an uptick.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how the rest of the 2020s go, because I mean, otherwise it's been pretty steady in the 130s, and now that's the number one question I keep getting. Like when I was posting about this forecast and online, the online discourse and the discourse out and about has. Well, get used to it. This is summers now. It's like, when I moved, moving to New England, I would think, hey, a little bit of a cooler, nice, cool, breezy summer, and then here we are, 102 degrees. So, is it a new normal? I mean, it's trending the last couple of decades.
It may be 100. This is the same graph, but with 100-degree days instead, and that's a little harder to find really any increase or decrease there. It's really kind of a random occurrence, but interesting if we were to do this 20 years from now, if we're all still here, to see, are we really going upwards and with 90 and 100-degree days? Remains to be seen.
This conversation could actually be a pretty good time capsule.
There we go. Store it. Absolutely. The equation that we talk about when it comes to these 100-degree days is the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, right? For every 1 degree increase, the atmosphere can hold 4% more water vapor. But when there's more water vapor, it's a lot less efficient to warm the atmosphere.
It's
harder to get those really. Think of Miami. People would not argue with you if you said Miami is a really humid place, but it's almost impossible to get a 100-degree day in Miami.
Right.
And so that is kind of what could be in the future for us is, yes, more humidity, still more heat, but maybe not the most extreme heat.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think we're probably looking at warmer summer days, warmer summer nights, but not necessarily a lot more 90 or 100-degree days because of that equation and that. Kind of an interesting dichotomy there. But either way, things are definitely warming, and it remains to be seen whether the 90s and the 100s. I think this summer, and Eric and I were talking about this yesterday, I do believe that this summer pattern is going to continue to be hot.
Yeah.
Not obviously we'll have breaks, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think Eric predicted something like 24 90-degree days this summer. This was yesterday's discussion. So I think there's more of this to come.
Yeah.
Not necessarily more 102-degree days, but more 90-degree.
Well, then you put in the context of, since this is such a big talker with everyone out and about, the lack of snowstorms that we've been seeing, like the big nor'easters, and it just kind of all.
We have that running, and I don't know what the update is, but we have that we have not had a 6-inch or greater snowstorm in Boston for something like 3 years. More than that now, 3.5 years. So.
Has it been 1,000 days now, I feel like?
Over 1,000.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
I was just thinking, when I go on school visits, it's kind of funny talking to kids about snow days, and they're kind of like, well, first of all, there's e-learning, but like snow days, where are they? Where have they been?
Yeah.
For the younger ones?
Anyway, so the weather alert does continue. It is still hot out. We do have a heat advisory up through 7 p.m. away from the coastline today. So we're not done yet, but we are awfully
almost
close.
There,
yeah.
And it is cooler, say that in quotation marks, cooler than yesterday. It's still some big time heat. We have that heat advisory posted from Metro West up towards the Merrimack Valley, out into parts of southern Worcester County, Middlesex County. The big conversation, you mentioned it a little earlier, Terry, is the overnight lows.
No relief.
No relief at
82
all.
for a low temperature in Boston this morning. The average high right now in Boston is 79.
Right.
For a daytime high, we were 3 degrees warmer this morning. So, yeah.
So you don't have AC?
No.
How was the sleeping weather last night?
I also sleep on a loft, so it's like right next to the ceiling fans went out. The AC was doing nothing and also broke. My dog, I can tell just by the level of her panting when we were just kind of trying. That's why it was the first time in my life I actually had to go somewhere else other than where I live or at work to stay cool, because I think I would have just like dealt with it, which I was kind of glad she was showing me enough signs, because I'm like, I probably need to handle this myself too, because I think that's why one of the reasons that weather or that heat is the #1 weather killer. It's sneaky because you think, oh, I'm fine, we've been here, done that, but we really have not been here, done that a lot with, as we've talked about.
And I think that was probably just one of a zillion stories like that. Yesterday, people around the area, the power went out in my town, about 10 to 12% lost. My parents lost their power, and I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness it didn't, last very long.
Cascade, even greater.
But I think everybody probably has some kind of story about, my air conditioner couldn't keep up, my power went out. There's all kinds of those types of stories.
Well, and we talk about all the time too, when we get extreme heat, to go check in on your neighbors, check in on people. And I was doing that because I'm like, if my AC is going out, I live in this building, it's an older building. I was going around on people's doors, and just to make sure, I've gotten to know some people in my area too with the dogs. I'm like, does anyone need anything? And people did. It was true. Like, people are sharing extra units if they have AC. It was an
historic day yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, for better or worse, we just don't get heat like that. And here, currently, we're still at 90 along 91. The coast. But I think probably just as we're speaking, that wind is probably turning on shore. And this afternoon, we do expect the coastline to cool off a few degrees.
So Nantucket at 90.
I just saw that. I mean,
I believe, I think Eric had tweeted it out, but something like the third time ever for Nantucket to hit 90 degrees.
I mean, think about it. It's an island surrounded by water that's all probably around 70 degrees right now. So it's got to be a unique set of circumstances to hit 90 degrees on an island in New England in the middle of June with cool water surrounding it.
I'd love to hear from everyone in Nantucket right now, how they're
probably weren't expecting, like if you booked a house down there in June, you probably weren't expecting it to be 90 degrees on Nantucket. But this is just a little bit tour around the area. There's a lot of backyard sensors on here, but basically, again, not as severe as yesterday.
84 in Winthrop.
There you go. So there's a sign.
Weymouth, they're at 89.
You can see the little green blobs there near Winthrop. We're waiting on this sea breeze
That's
front.
sea breeze, yeah.
Right, so that's probably the start of a sea breeze front that's going to be moving inland. And there may even be a few showers or downpours along that front at some point later this afternoon, but it is yet to move completely onshore. You can see even down on the South Shore still baking 90 to 95.
Yeah.
And the dew points have not abated either. 68, 70,
It's a bit of a pick your poison, right? Because on Monday, dew points were in the mid to low 70s. And feels like temperatures were in the triple digits. We kind of traded a little bit of the humidity, a little bit, I stress a little bit, but that is really what allowed us yesterday to reach that triple digit mark. Dew points in the upper 60s versus the mid to low 70s. That was just enough, along with the westerly wind, or northwesterly wind, to dry us out. That's how we were able to heat up that way.
A little bit of meteorology 101, or maybe 202 actually. This just shows, again, this afternoon, the 90s turning into 80s along the coastline, so just some more proof that it really is going to cool down, and then into the overnight. Boy, it would be, so I think how many people tomorrow morning are going to wake up 6, 7 in the morning, open up all the windows, air the house out, like tomorrow morning I can envision just everybody just opening up all the windows.
That's true.
It's going to be one of those kind of mornings, one of those kind of days, just get all that heat out of the house. I do think that for the most part tonight, and this is actually even a better representation.
The whoosh.
Watch the whoosh from north to south. Overnight, these are dew points just kind of washing away, and we're down to dew points.
I can just feel the relief looking at that graphic.
Yeah, it's going to take most of the night. So when you go to bed tonight, it's still going to be probably pretty darn hot in the house.
Yeah.
But by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, much, much better. So there is relief.
It stays pretty comfortable Thursday and Friday.
Exactly, yeah. There are no 90s currently on the 7-day. We'll see what happens early next week. But look at that for tomorrow. 60s, 70s.
It's going to be so nice. I don't even mind that we're getting back to some rain either.
Yeah.
With this.
Yeah,
I'm just ready to wash it all out, wash away the heat,
it's a
dry
good
things
cleanser.
out.
We've actually been, June is it's close to, I want to say 2 inches below the average for water precipitation right now. So I know no one wants to talk about drought, and we had an awfully, so many wet weekends, but it's something to keep in mind if this sort of dry and hot stuff continues and we don't get much rain this weekend. A couple weeks from now, if the pattern continues, don't be shocked to hear the drought word pop up at some point.
A month ago, you and I talked, and there were comparisons that we were able to draw to 2023, which was one of the hottest years and one of the wettest years on record. Those two things usually don't go hand in hand. We've kind of backed off from that comparison only because we have been a bit drier during the week, at least. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the summer plays out. So, Alyssa, you mentioned the weekend. You want to take a stab at this?
I thought that my job last weekend, I was looking forward to having the first dry weekend. But I mean, we didn't even get to talk about that and brag about it because we were so busy with the hot weather. So yeah, not a lot here, a washout, like not like that by any means, but a little bit of rain in the area for this weekend. We got to get back to somewhat of a not dry Saturday. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I do think I don't, like you said, no washouts. I do think Saturday has a better chance of some rain than Sunday, but I wouldn't cancel the graduation party at this point. I would just, beware. If you got a tent, good for you. But it's probably more spotty. Again, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, even early Sunday, just some spotty showers. Nothing crazy. We don't expect any severe weather. Like you said earlier, you would think after being 102 degrees, how do you break this heat? It's got to be some severe weather. And there's just that's not in the cards this time. So that's some good news. And if you're heading to the Cape this weekend, I'm sure a lot of folks are decent. Probably a little gloomy on Saturday, but
not
90s.
Not
90s. Yeah. Typical Cape weather in June, low 70s. Pretty standard stuff. The Sox are back in town too, Friday and the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah, should be decent weather. I don't expect any rainouts, but again, watching Saturday for the chance of some showers. Sunday looks pretty nice for some afternoon baseball.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the radar before you leave.
Yeah.
You might want to just be prepared for a shower.
I had a game last night, man. It was At 9:30, and it was still like it was
you played last
miserable.
night?
Oh yeah.
Softball.
I'm thinking about with the Red Sox.
My goodness, last night, jeez. There was actually, I believe, there was a concert at Fenway.
Yes, there was. There was Hosier was there.
Yeah. Okay.
I ran into because I knew that because I was out cooling off at a restaurant, and everyone was talking about going to the concert. I'm like,
oh my gosh, I
how?
can't imagine being there last night.
So there's our 7-day forecast. There are some signs that we could start to build into some warmth into next week, and we are watching sort of that Monday, Tuesday time frame for some showers, maybe some storms, perhaps on Tuesday. But there's a 7-day forecast. I think a lot of folks are going to just appreciate that Thursday, Friday, Saturday stretch, even if there are some raindrops. I think just for the cool weather.
It's funny how quickly we transition so we have a morning news meeting every morning, and of course it's been all about the heat and the records. But everyone this morning was like, okay, yeah, Terry, we know the heat's going to end. What about my weekend plan? Like they're already like past the heat wave. That's old news. What about the weekend? Is it going to rain on Saturday? So, I think I tempered the anger down. It's not going to be an all-day washout. You'll get your plans in this weekend. Just maybe dodging a shower here and there.
Love that.
There you go.
You gonna stay cool? Figure out a way?
I guess now that the temperatures are at least going to back off, like, because I wasn't planning on doing a whole AC unit and I'm like, I can survive the summer, it's fine. But yeah, my thoughts have changed now.
Thoughts have changed.
Thoughts have changed.
I love it. Well, we appreciate you tuning in on YouTube and on CBS News Boston. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll have many more of these weather updates as it needs. And have a good weekend, everyone. Good week.